return. 1. Standard issue field knife. The subject is not to be made aware of this item and must find it on his own within the kit. The subject must also be attached to a video system with a camera mounted on the subject's head or shoulders. The video device should be cable-based and allow for the same length of travel as the return system. Wireless cameras have shown mixed results and other side, the third door opens fully, and light is bright within the room. The room is empty, but the walls are filthy. Subject says the material on the walls is not dirt, but he cannot identify it. It seems to resemble melted plastic, but is brown in color. He exits. The second door on the left side has no handle and does not move when pushed. The hole where the handle was is plugged by unknown material. The first door on the left is locked, but part of the key is in the lock, with the back broken off. The subject manipulates the key to open the door and immediately begins coughing, complaining of a stench. While the walls and floor of the room are clean, the ceiling is coated in the same brown substance as the previous room. There is a makeshift cot made from aged blankets and a pillow. A wooden crate contains open boxes of food. Text on the labels appears on video as squiggles. However, subject states they simply say cereal. A second crate in the room contains empty water bottles that have dried out. On the walls are clipped articles, but language cannot be read. Subject is asked to remove clippings for retrieval. All articles but one crumbles at the touch due to age. The intact article is put in a field sample container. A book lays next to the cot with no title or identifying marks. Asked to investigate the book, the subject begins to move towards it. Audio records a high-pitched screeching noise, like grinding metal, for 3 seconds. Subject has not touched the book yet. When the noise stops, the subject asks Control to repeat the request. Control made no requests during that time, as headsets were removed. Subject advised to leave the room, and notes that the door had begun closing slowly on its own, and if left alone, will close completely. Subject advised to leave the door alone and investigate the next door. Careful review of the following is visible, with more articles attached to it. A box of cereal can be seen on the floor, and what appears to be a hand lying palm up. Subject closes the door and pans the camera past door 7, which remains closed. Seeing nowhere else to explore, the subject is asked to return. Subject does not protest and complains of ever-increasing stench. As the subject returns back down the tunnel, his camera feed does not change or show anomaly. However, Control reports a sudden surge in cable movement, pulling an additional 100 meters of cable before going slack again and then tightening. Video feed shows the subject ascending the hole slowly, while Control attempts to verify integrity of the pulley system. The subject is requested to stop his ascent, but states he is not climbing. The rope is pulling him. Panic sets on both sides, and the subject is told to ready his firearm. Upon reaching the top of the hole, nothing is visible on camera. Subject reports nothing has changed in the landscape, then begins the return trip following the path of the cable, traveling for approximately 900 steps. The subject asks how much cable he has used. Control for some time. Subject begins to comment about a stench. As the subject pans the area, a metal hatch is visible in the ground, similar to a bulkhead on a submarine with a turn handle. Subject remarks that the smell is at its worst around the hatch, and the dirt around the hatch is clumped and clay-like. Subject is coerced into turning the handle, which opens the hatch. Subject begins coughing at the release of stale air. Down the hatch is a white concrete tunnel, similar to the one found in the blue experiment, but in much better condition. Subject is asked to descend the ladder. After some convincing, subject agrees. Approximately 53 meters of cable is used when the bottom is reached. Inside of the hatch appears to be a bunker. It is spacious, about half the size of the cellar, containing 3 bunks, 1 double and 2 single beds. Several boxes of food similar to those found in Test 1, marked as cereal, fill a waste container near the hatch bottom. On the beds are 2 skeletons, and on the floor is a bird lying next to an empty 6-shooter revolver. 3 casings are across the floor near the gun. On the other side of this skeleton is a bound book in good condition. This is retrieved and placed into a field kit. Subject examines a desk where a newspaper has been cut and is in good condition. The clipped articles are recovered. Trash bags containing clothing, a few children's toys resembling popular 1950s products, are lined against the wall. Near the doorway to the hatch, a small area has been fitted with what appears to be an Ethernet jack, the cover of which has been forced slightly away from the wall by a strange orange substance. Subject refuses to touch or collect the sample, saying that it stinks so bad that if they want it, they can come and get it themselves. Control declines and subject leaves the bunker. As subject grips the ladder to leave, the camera pans up for a moment, and at the top of the tunnel, a humanoid figure is seen peering down. Control asks the subject to confirm the figure. Subject states nothing is up there subject is told to remain still and silent as the beings move. They are facing at an angle, so the faces are only visible for a few moments. They have no facial features. The arms they use to drag themselves are short at times and long at others, stretching out to varying lengths each time they move. There are no lower limbs. The body appears to end at the torso. The two creatures take approximately 10 minutes to disappear into the distance. Subject begins to panic and begs to return. A request is declined. Subject instructed to enter the home from the cellar and not to leave the home under any circumstance. The first floor is entered through a hatch that opens with rusty creaks. Subject enters a kitchen. A heavy layer of dust coats all items. The refrigerator is left open. All food is spoiled. Adjacent to the kitchen is a living area. There is a recliner, a couch, and a television, all of 1950s design. In the recliner is a laptop, whose case also resembles 1950s style and is coated in dust. Opening the laptop reveals the last moments of its operating system, Faithful OS, leaving a standby mode and immediately shutting off. The laptop has no external power source and does not power back on. The door to outside is nailed shut with thick wood planks. Camera view pans to a staircase leading upstairs. Subject ascends the stairs without being asked. At the top is a hallway with two doors, one on each side. At the end of the hallway is a dumbwaiter in the wall. Subject opens the door on the left, which opens to a master bedroom. The bed is neatly made, but the wardrobe is thrown open and clothes are all over the floor. Subject is asked to open the second door. The second door leads to a shared children's bedroom. There is a window out of which the farmland is visible. Approximately 40 kilometers away is a city. The camera pans down. The area around the house shows about 300 figures, similar to those seen during the blue test, or staring up. Subject asked to confirm figures, but states nothing is there. Subject is asked to return. The police system shows no erratic behavior. As the subject returns, condition. Mirror test 3. Color violet. In the third test, the subject is male, 21 years old, of average physique. Subject's background shows instance of second-degree murder of a police officer during a drug bust. Normally, this crime, while severe, would not qualify a person for D-class personnel, but the murder of the officer was especially brutal with excessive violence. This subject was uncooperative and had to be reminded his cooperation would only benefit him. Subject entered the provided mirror while holding SCP-093, which emitted a violet color. Outside technicians observed that the mirror retained a true reflection until the subject had completely passed into it, at which time the view changed to an urban cityscape, lightly tinted in purple. Camera footage shows a modern downtown district. The streets are mostly bare, except for a few cars of unknown make and model. These cars look highly advanced and streamlined. Subject attempts to look into the car windows without being instructed, but backs away, remarking there is a stench coming from the areas around most of the cars. Subject is persuaded to move closer to one car. The inside appears to be completely filled with a strange brown matter. Nothing else is visible. 2 other cars produce the same result. However, a 4th vehicle seems more recent than the others, and the insides are immaculate. The doors to this vehicle are also unlocked. Subject quickly gets inside, then shuts the door. Subject is chastised for this behavior by Control, who reminds him his lifeline is nothing more than a cable. While closing the door does not damage it, they cannot recover a person in motion. Subject argues with Control over this issue and pans the camera across the dashboard, pointing out he could not drive away even if he tried. The dashboard is void of any recognizable controls. No ignition, no steering. It has several small black screens, theorized to be a GPS system. Subject remains in the car while Control discusses how to proceed, since the city is far larger than the previous test destinations. While Control debates the issue, Subject stares around the cityscape from the car. During one pan, a face is clearly seen staring into the car, watching the subject. However, this was not noticed until is instructed to proceed to the highest floor to see the lay of the city. All floors appear to be accessible, with the highest being 114. At floor 114, the doors open and the team enters a large lounge area. There are many couches with dust on them. A widescreen TV of over 60 inches dominates the wall in front of them with no power. A series of windows are open, allowing in sunlight. The view of the city shows this building is one of the tallest, but not alone in its stature. The city below is grey and silent, with no evidence of life at this altitude. Some buildings have a strange brown growth that appears to have been splashed against them. Other buildings have floors where the glass has been shattered, and the same brown substance is seeping out of the edges. One member of the team calls the camera holder to the window on the other side. From the other side of the building, the city edges can be seen. An expressway encircles the city, upon which crawls another of the massive, half-body humanoids, dragging itself with its elastic arms, as seen in previous tests. It travels the highway, then moves out of sight. The team returns to the elevator and notes that a button has already been activated for floor 74. No one has approached the elevator, so the team agrees to travel to this floor. On floor 74, the doors open and reveal a waiting area to what appears to be a doctor's office. berserker did suffer a lapse of the heart that did lead her to lay with her neighbor twice upon nights of her husband's departure from their home. Patient did submit herself into the Lord's and our hands for cleansing of mind and body. Prayer administered by High Father Uwalakin, and patient submitted to a 3-day period in the Lord's tears to cleanse her system, then released in good spirits. The topmost page reads, Citizen Alberius Farafan struck out at a High Father during a sermon, blaspheming that the Lord's tears did turn his daughter to be unright in mind and heart, thusly laying blame for her whorish activities at the feet of the High Father and his blessing. With no proof of these blasphemies, the forgiving judge and the punishing judge did agree that Alberius Parafan should bathe in the Lord's tears himself for a week, to be cleansed of mind and soul, thus to prove his daughter's ways are fault of not the Father's hands, and to give him peace of self. The subject, who had been traveling quietly with the escort team, now began to panic. The camera pans to focus on him, and he is surrounded by entities similar to those witnessed in the first 2 tests. The team report subject is having a panic attack, but control requests them to stand still and wait. Subject screams at the entities, which are denied to exist by Team Commander, stating subject is alone in the corner. Control requests that one team member approach and recover the subject. The team member approaches the subject as ordered. On the video, the figures part to make a pathway for the approaching member, who lifts subject to his feet and brings him out of the corner. Figures on video are then seen closing ranks to close the path. Subject is lifted to his feet and escorted through the figures that close their ranks when the subject is moved. They remain is nowhere to be seen, and he does not respond to shouts. Member assumed to be dead. With wireless receiver recovered, control and escort return through the entry point, and the mirror returns to a reflective surface. Later review of the recovered camera shows the lost escort member grasping at the air where the entry point should be, and then turning to look up at the oversized torso. A brown gel seems to drip off the creature as it moves, which disappears shortly after falling from it, as if evaporating. Several shots are fired at the creature's face, causing a spray of brown liquid to pour from its wounds. Escort member screams as the creature descends upon him, and the camera is pushed to the ground. Video goes dark for about a minute before light comes back, and the camera films the creature crawling back to the expressway in the direction it was originally heading. The team member is believed to have been absorbed by the creature. Mirror test 4. Color yellow. In the fourth test, D-class subjects were no longer authorized for testing. Testing focus has been shifted to data collection after analyzing the articles brought back from the previous 3 tests to better understand the fate of the world accessed by SCP-093 and to determine if safeguards or practices are required for our own world. The subject is a senior researcher who has volunteered for this test, and out of the possible candidates, he was able to cause SCP-093 to produce a new color change. There is no evidence in subject's background of any criminal behavior, nor any psychological problems. When presented to the mirror, the view changed to that of a cubicle office environment. For this test, the subject opted to use the wireless video system and not to use On impact, it thumps like a rock and falls. A file cabinet in the corner of the room draws subject's attention, and he goes through each shelf one at a time, stopping in the second drawer and taking out a file, then going back to the first and taking out two more, continuing to the third and fourth drawers. He takes 4 additional files and spreads them all out on the desk. The files are blue, and he points with his finger and camera at a symbol on each of praying hands, stating for the camera that all other files are stored in the yellow folders. The blue folders are placed in his field kit. Camera attention is turned to the PC on the desk that is logged in and functional. Subject comments, wondering where these devices are getting their power from, as he has not seen any power outlets. The PC's desktop contains the logo of Faithful OS and even has sounds. Clicks of the mouse followed by soft hymn-like hums, and opening of icons are followed by angelic bells. The PC fails to yield any useful information. Subject abandons it and leaves the office. Approaching the other end of the office floor, subject presses a button on the wall for the elevator and enters. Finding he is on the 34th floor, the keypad goes from -115 to 115. Before pressing a floor, subject requests that the wireless video transponder be moved to the elevator and replaced with a construction cone to mark the entry point. A second transponder unit is placed outside the elevator, and he instructs Control to recover the second unit and seal the test chamber should something happen to it. He then presses the button for floor -115. The descent down is long, taking 15 minutes. During this time, the camera experiences one malfunction, where the image jerks and turns to snow, restoring to show 14 other SCP-093, presumably the one carried with subject. Other sections of the wall on inspection are found to be missing their copies, leading to speculation this may be some sort of central array. Subject finds a ladder in the floor while examining the room and proceeds down it at Control's request. The ladder exits into a large, clean room full of computer equipment that appears antiquated compared to previously encountered equipment. Large computers running on reel-to-reels are clicking and spinning at various locations. A light bulb turns on for 10 seconds, then turns off. A large CRT monitor is displaying single words in 8 colors at roughly 5-second intervals. The words clean, unclean, clean, clean, lost, unclean flash onto the screen. Proceeding through the room, it ends in a large glass window as another observation deck. This deck looks out over another series of tubes as seen before, but far fewer and filled with a blue liquid. An electrical current moves over many of the tubes at erratic intervals. At least 5 tubes are empty and broken. At the observation window, heavily armed team entered the debriefing room and used automatic weapons to terminate subject. Reports confirm that subject did not bleed when shot, but instead leaked a green-brown substance. All further tests of SCP-093 have been discontinued, while review of materials recovered is ongoing. Recovered materials. From the blue test was the newspaper clipping which read, "Most Holy Father announces progress, unclean being cleansed." A rare public address directly from the Most Holy Father of the United Lands of the Sun has declared that the Blessed Militia has driven back many of the unclean who are skulking our lands now. New Rome, our capital, has been purged of the unclean, and citizens are encouraged to come back to their homes. Citizens who live in the surrounding countryside should not return to their farms, as the unclean still roam the fields and plains around our glorious city and continue to grow in size. The Blessed Militia has developed new weapons which have proven capable of punishing the unclean and driving them back into the unfertile lands. Construction has begun of a system to permanently close the unfertile lands off from our blessed lands. In each affected area, once all the unclean have been driven away. The Most Holy requests that all citizens of our united lands bow in prayer and offer teeth to recognize the sacrifices of our Blessed Militia in these troubled times. Reports have been coming in that falsely accuse the Blessed Militia of having committed sin against the citizens whose the shelter, slammed the hatch and locked it. I think it knows we're here now. It'll try to get in and take us too. No telling how long we got. Plenty of food, though. I was wrong. The food was rotten. Something got into it. We're eating what we can. There's food, but not enough. And that thing ain't leaving. It's trying to find ways in. Smelt the smell coming from the life web plug in the wall. Something seeped through it and we kept away. It got all hard like a rock and don't smell no more. Maybe the power in the plug finally let it die. I went up to peek. Cellar is fine. Trev's clothes still on the stairs. Peeked outside. We're not gonna make it. There were 10, 20, 30. Couldn't count. So many. All going in a circle round the house. Looking at it with those faceless faces. And the stink. Oh, the stink. Went back in the shelter and locked the door. I don't want to see my family rot away. I think faster is better. The miss, she agrees. We won't tell Lise. She'll be the first, and my wife, and me. The violet test allowed the recovery of an office ledger with insight into the medical procedures carried out in this alternate world. Patient Jennifer McZerker. Mixture 35% tears, 30% nutrient, 10% HFD, 25% blessing. Summary. Jennifer McZerker is 20 cycles of age, and during her 18th cycle was the victim of an HOV ride incident that resulted in brain damage and misalignment of her moral processes. She is prone to violent outbursts and can only be calmed by impure stimulation. Because of this, she actively seeks out strangers to mingle with, and her parents requested the High Father that she be set to the tears to mend her mind and body. Patient accepted. During preparation for the tears, subject went into a rage, and the attending hand went to recover a sedative. Jennifer tore her clothes off and screamed impure words at me, so I locked the door and instructed the hand to wait outside. I am half shameful to admit I laid with Jennifer a total of 7 times before putting her to the tears. It has been very long for me, and her parents have abandoned her to our care. So care for her I will. Before setting her to the tears, I authorized a blessed probe of her body functions, and found she is settled now, with young, and tests confirm it shall be mine. I have mixed her bath to accommodate this, and she will soak in the tears This struck a high father and was arrested, sentenced to a cleansing of the soul. His mixture is primarily tears to seep into the soul and cleanse his heart and ease his pain. The lawkeepers state his family is indeed missing, so his sentence beyond the tears has been dropped in sympathy for their loss. I used the last of the HFT on Jennifer, or I would have used less tears for this path. 80% is higher than I am comfortable with, but the HFT is becoming hard to obtain. In the red test, the final authorized test, which resulted in the loss of a skilled technician, but which allowed us to recover documents that can only be assumed do not have been intended for public knowledge. Curious among these is the agent redacted report, which appears to have been written by a Foundation employee several decades ago. It says, "My name is redacted, and I am an agent at the Foundation. The year in my world is 1972. I assume it is the same in this world, but from what I have seen, due to SCP-093, life in this world ended approximately 1954. I have used SCP-093 to visit a number of locales, starting and ending here in this center. I have seen the landscapes where no grass will grow. I have run from the unclean as they pursue anything they sense. I have no understanding of how they hunt, but I have learned what they are. Approximately 350 years ago or so, this world experienced a technological boom that ours did not. The source of this seems to have been the arrival of He, a godlike being of unknown origin. He declared the world unclean and full of sin. The only way to purge itself of this sin was to purge the sinners. A war. Whoever was left alive was clean. Amazing advances in science were bestowed to all cultures for a period of 10 years to prepare them for this war, and during that time, He disappeared. The war happened anyway. The instigator, the Holy Union of Land, apparently the landmass that for us would become the United States. Records are sketchy, and books that detail anything about this period are forbidden in the world. I located a cache of recorded history by following a series of corrupted computer communications. It seems the primary weapon receive